the things that's been troubling me and has actually even affected me over the last 24 hours is the rise of violence that we've seen from elements of the far left, starting with things like Luigi Maggioni, these support for these unhuman organizations like MS-13, Tren de Aragua, and even, of course, the assassination attempts on President Trump, Thomas Matthew Crooks, and Ryan Routh, as well as numerous incidents against anyone who owns a Tesla, apparently. You don't really see the Democrats opposing these things. You see them in many cases either co-signing it or giving a wink and nod to it at the same time that they will be demanding that we follow due process for anyone who actually is a hardened criminal or some of the worst of the worst. What is the administration doing, DOJ-wise or FBI-wise, to combat this rise in violence that we're seeing?
It's a great question, Jack, and I absolutely agree with the premise of your question, which I usually don't when I take questions at a podium. But certainly you're right. We have seen a rise in political violence that stems from the left, dating back to the Black Lives Matter movement, which the left and the Democrats don't want to talk about much, but they burned down American cities. And the Biden administration did nothing to prosecute those who created that violence, oftentimes not just destroying businesses, but also lives and communities as well. You look at the rise of violence against the president himself and his supporters. You had 2 heinous assassination attempts from leftist lunatics, and the president is lucky and blessed to be here today because he was able to survive that political violence and those assassination attempts. Look at the recent attacks on Tesla, on Elon Musk's company. It's quite ironic because Democrats and leftists were the greatest fans of Tesla. Many Democrats drive Teslas to this very day, but then it's that their same party who is doing nothing to stop or condemn or discourage this violence from taking place. And in many cases, Democrat elected officials are actually inciting it and encouraging it. But that's not going to be allowed to happen anymore. The Attorney General was just in the cabinet room with the president and made it very clear to anyone who is inciting violence or participating in violence, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And no longer do we have a Justice Department that chooses prosecutions based on one's political affiliation. If you break the law, you will be held accountable for that. And I think we are truly restoring a fair and equal justice system in this country. The Attorney General spoke earlier about how there have been several cases brought against those who have perpetrated this political violence against Tesla, which is a great American-made company. And we need to see more people on the other side of the aisle stepping out to discourage this violence. But I don't think we will hold our breath. We won't wait for them. The president is leading by example. And I think the restoration of justice we've seen at the DOJ under the leadership of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, who's doing an incredible job as the FBI director, is a testament to that. Thank you. Dom.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the honor to be able to ask a question and provide some transparency for the American people. Speaking of, I wanted to reference the election integrity. A lot of people in America are questioning if there's any possibility that we could see further investigations for anyone that could have violated our election integrity rights. And more importantly, so is there any possibility for names such as Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Rodham Clinton to ever just possibly get investigated for any of these, questions from the American people, for any of the wrongdoings they might have done?
Well, it's refreshing to actually hear a question on election integrity because the legacy media would never ask such a question. They're so out of touch with where the American people are on this issue. And Americans, you're absolutely right, want to have trust in our electoral system. Without free and fair elections, you cannot have a free and fair country. And President Trump has absolutely been a leader on this effort, talking about the irregularities we've seen in our elections, holding Democrats accountable for allowing illegal immigrants to participate in our elections. And he actually signed a recent executive order to protect the integrity of our elections. It will strengthen voter citizenship verification laws. It also directs the Attorney General to enter information sharing agreements with state election officials to identify cases of election fraud. So that correspondence between the federal government and the Attorney General with state and local officials has never happened before. It will allow the federal government to more easily identify these cases of fraud and then prosecute those who violate our election laws. And it is, again, appalling that any politician, regardless of party, could be against ensuring only American citizens can vote in American elections. How could anyone ever be against ensuring Americans need to have proof of identification to participate in our elections. You see the Democrats falling over themselves, trying to say this is somehow voter suppression. Absolutely not. We are trying to ensure that every American citizen, their vote actually counts and is not being outweighed by fraudulent votes and fraudulent ballots that we know have been cast in previous elections. So the president's taking this very seriously. He signed an extremely strong executive order directing action from the AG and the Department of Homeland Security as well to clean up our elections. And we expect Congress to do more on this front as well. Let's go over here.
On that question, and again, Caroline, thank you so much for hosting this. Really appreciate the opportunity to come in here and ask questions of you guys, and appreciate the president giving us some time of yours as well. On a follow-up on Dom's question, I still have a ton of my audience that is still asking questions about Hillary Rodham Clinton and the fact that it came out that her and the DNC funded the Steele dossier, which then led to a Crossfire Hurricane and all the FISA abuses that went against President Trump leading up to the 2020 election. Is there, you don't have to spill the beans, but is there something? Is there somebody still looking at it? We just want to know that it's not dead in the water, that Hillary's not just off scot-free after knowing what her and the DNC did leading up to the 2020 election.
It's a great question. Absolutely understand and agree with why you're asking it, but I would want to let the president weigh in on that front. I haven't discussed it with him, to be honest with you, but certainly we can ask him and get back to you.
All right, that'd be good.
Eric.
So Caroline, Madam Press Secretary,
You can call me Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. Over the weekend, the White House Correspondents Association had their gala, they had their dinner, and Alex Thompson from now Axios, prior to that Politico, didn't really apologize, but came forward and said we, quote unquote, missed the story of Joe Biden's demise, his health demise, his cognitive demise during the 4 years. Jake Tapper has written the book since President Trump was elected that they missed the demise of Joe Biden as well. Fast forward to this lawsuit with CBS, right? So the media, legacy media, has not been held accountable. Will this lawsuit with CBS go to fruition? In other words, I would love to see it go to trial so that we can see, so they can be held accountable. Additionally, will the New York Times be enjoined into that lawsuit, because the New York Times has already stated that they agree with CBS. And Trump has said maybe we're going to sue the New York Times as well. And as a follow-up to all this, and it really does dovetail because it's not just left-leaning media, Fox News. Fox News put out a poll. I'm a statistician. The poll they put out was wildly biased against President Trump. Will Fox sue Fox? Will Trump sue Fox for their methodology in polling?
Two great questions. Let me hit the first one first. As for CBS and the White House Correspondents Association dinner, it was laughable. They gave an award to a journalist for talking about Biden's mental incompetence. He wrote a story about it years after the American people knew that story to be true. Didn't take much, just 2 eyes and 2 ears to realize that Joe Biden was completely inept, was unfit to serve as president of the United States. And nobody in the legacy media, nobody in this city wanted to talk about it. In fact, I recall being on President Trump's campaign and calling out Joe Biden's cognitive decline. And we were accused of manufacturing deepfakes. My predecessor accused us for manufacturing deepfakes from the White House podium when she knew and everybody in this White House knew the true status of Joe Biden's physical and mental fitness. And the mainstream media allowed that cover up to take place because they refused to dig for the truth. They tried to get the American people not to believe their own eyes. It is truly one of the greatest cover-ups and scandals in American history. And again, this is why we are welcoming independent journalists and social media influencers and content creators into the White House with open arms, because all of you in this room and many of your colleagues in independent journalism talked about this online. Nobody gave you credence as far as the legacy media is concerned. And now they host cocktail parties where they're applauding each other and patting each other on the back for uncovering the truth. It was years later, and it's truly sad to see. But again, that's why we're making much needed and long overdue changes. As for the lawsuit against CBS, the president and his legal team fully intend to carry this lawsuit forward. The president put out a very strong statement in regard to that and fake news CBS this morning. And then as for the Fox News poll, president's right. These are fake polls. They overpoll Democrats. They underpoll President Trump's supporters. It's always been the case for media polls. They consistently underestimate President Trump's support amongst the public. That's why we don't really blink when we see them, to be honest with you. We're staying focused on the mission and moving forward. The president knows everything he's doing is exactly what he promised the American public he would do. And if you look at the key issues in the polling, the president is still ahead because Americans know he is delivering on them, on those issues for them. And if you look at the methodology, you're right. They're overpolling Democrats, underpolling Republicans. It's a clear-cut case of fake polling, no doubt.
If I